stamp out hunger with the NALC. The Postal Service does this annually, and the food that they collect goes to local charities that have signed up for it. So we have a proclamation Janet's going to read.
Whereas an estimated 50 million people face hunger every day in America, including millions of children, senior citizens, and military veterans, and whereas on Saturday, May 13th, 2017, letter carriers throughout Florida will participate in one of the United States' largest annual food drives, and whereas the effort of letter carriers represented by the National Association of Letter Carriers, NALC, with the help of rural letter carriers, other postal employees, and numerous other volunteers, has resulted in delivery of more than 1.5 billion pounds of donations to community food banks and pantries over the past 24 years. Locally, Florida collected 12 million pounds, and the NALC branch 1091 collected over 1 million pounds of food last year. And whereas food donated by generous Floridians and transported by letter carriers will be delivered to shelters, churches, and other charitable organizations for distribution to those in need. And whereas we are all proud to recognize the letter carriers who coordinate and help execute the Florida Letter Carriers Food Drive each year, and commend everyone in Florida who contributes to this worthy cause. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and the City Commission of Deltona, do hereby recognize Saturday, May 13th, 2017, as NALC Stamp Out Hunger National Food Drive Day in the City of Deltona, and urge all residents to support this cause by placing non-perishable food items in or near your mailbox on Food Drive Day. Executed this first day of May 2017, John Masarzik Sr.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll make sure I get this to the post office for them. Otherwise, they said they'd stop my retirement check, but I'll get that out here. But it's don't forget, it's May 13th, so they'll be putting the bags out usually several days ahead of time. They don't you just hang it on your. So one time you're allowed to hang something on your mailbox.
So that Janet doesn't have to read this proclamation, this is a proclamation for our Municipal Clerks Week. So whereas as the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between its citizens, the local governing bodies and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in educational programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk, now therefore we, the Mayor and City Commission of Deltona, do hereby recognize May 7th through May 13th, 2017 as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our municipal clerk, Joyce Raftery, our deputy city clerk, Janet Day, and the staff of the municipal clerk's office, Carissa Green, Denise Magliotti, Elizabeth Keys, and Doug Shippey, for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the citizens of Deltona. Executed this first day of May, 2017. Presented to you. Stand up, clerk's office. Yay. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we had a lot of proclamations this week. A lot of people doing outstanding work in our community and for our community, and we wanted to recognize them, and it seems like they all come in waves. Next item on the agenda is a quarterly report to cities' advisory boards. We have a presentation by Deltona Economic Development. Tanya Boggs, is she here? Is Tanya here tonight? No? Well, we have to refer to the written report. Planning and zoning is a written report. Is Lisa Spriggs here tonight? Okay, Mr. Klinger, do you want to say something concerning the firefighter's pension plan? I had gotten the word that you wanted to.
Mayor, let me be clear up front. I am in no way speaking on behalf of the pension board, but because there had been some confusion in the past about the extra contribution that was going to be made towards the unfunded liability, I wanted to point out the item that's on page 2 of their report, just past halfway down the page, where they talk about there were 2 sources of monies that were added together to apply to the unfunded liability. There was $145,605 of excess premium money that the union agreed to allow the city to use, plus the check that we wrote for $180,000. So we actually were able to apply just over $325,000 towards the unfunded liability instead of the original $250 that was planned. So we did a little better than what we were planning to do, but there has been some confusion over this point, so I just wanted to point that out, that it's now in their report.
All right, thank you, sir, very much. Okay, next, Team Volusia. I think Mr. Norton's here, or is it?
Good evening, Mayor and City Commissioners. I'm Keith Norton with Team Volusia Economic Development Corporation, and we are delighted to be able to give you our quarterly report. We armed ourselves with a thumb drive just in case there was a technical difficulty, so we have a couple of presentations on hand. But thank you so much. It's loaded beautifully. And I wanted to introduce Chris Wimsat, our Vice President of Business Development, who actually is working hand in hand with Deltona City staff on several development projects and several projects, as well as serving on a regular basis in our office hours here at City Hall, along with Matt Chestnut, our other vice president. So we are delighted that we remain active. We are busier than ever. We have a lot of project activity, and we are continuing to do the business recruitment. And as you know, our mission is the official marketing and business recruitment arm for the county. We're the public-private partnership, and we are very pleased to have Deltona among our city partners, our 13 city partners, as well as the county, the 5 colleges and universities, and about 90 private sector companies. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Chris. And Chris, if you'd like to go through the presentation, and I'll be here with Chris. Also, I'm delighted to be on the agenda for, or the schedule for this Friday at City Hall, and I will be here from 2 to 5. So I welcome any of you who would like to meet privately with me. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Chris?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me say a few words. So my point here is to give you a quick update on what it is we do and what we're seeing out in the marketplace, as well as how it reflects to the city of Deltona. Feel free to ask questions. We can make it interactive, that's fine. I welcome questions, and we can try to answer them as best we can in a public forum. Okay? So this is a quick snapshot, if you will. We call it a dashboard report. Any of you in the private sector, in the sales function anyhow, may go over something like this. This is what we see throughout the whole county. Keep in mind this is a few weeks old now, so some of the numbers are lower than what they are currently today. But on the left we have what's called a sales funnel. This talks about projects going through different stages of our funnel, the top being the most early stage, the bottom being closed projects. On the right, you see project submissions per community. So this actually came, this report came as a suggestion from the city of DeLand. They wanted to know how many projects they see in their city. You can see this here. Deltona actually has the third highest number of projects, viewings, if you will, land viewings, property viewings, than any other city in the county. That's actually a fairly surprising number. I didn't know it was that high until coming up with this calculation either, and we can talk about why that is in just a moment. On the left, we have projects by source. Some of those are state sources, some of those are local sources, and some of those are directly to us. And then lastly, we have projects by use. So here we can see commercial, office, retail, professional service, and industrial. As you can see, the industrial and the manufacturing projects are by far and away the most active segment that we are seeing. And that's not just us, that's all of the EDOs in the country, and especially in the state. So we are not abnormal in seeing that. What is unique is that those clients now are finding fewer and fewer properties to locate. The inventory around the country, in this county and in this city, is low. And so as a result, these companies are kicking a lot of tires. They're trying to find property, and it's very difficult for them to do that. So now they're looking at build-to-suit options. We can talk about that as we move forward, too. This is one way we find business. We do things called FAM tours, familiarization tours. Those are the top left. That is where we invite people in from all over the world to see this community, and we open their eyes to what this community has to offer. You may or may not be surprised that the general consensus about this community, not this city, but this county, this part of the country, is not always reality. A lot of times it has to do with tourism, of course, but there's a lot more to this community than that, and our job is to help share that message. Business outreach is something we do like any business professional or a business development professional would do. We have to go find business. We go all over the country and all over the world to do that. And I did want to let you know we finished 2 projects, which Heidi has been outstanding on, and a wonderful, wonderful partner. Thank you, Heidi. And that is our marketing plan and our new strategic plan, 2 big projects that will really affect how we move forward over the next number of years. This is impossible to read at this level, but what this is a marketing plan. This is our implementation plan. This is a Gantt chart that shows 30 specific things that we are starting to do on a marketing front for this county. We're planning to spend over $200,000 to do that. It's a huge initiative. We can only do it because we pool resources from all of our city partners and our county partners and our private sector partners. That's the only way we can afford to do something like this. We have it planned out by the quarter, by the focus area, and by the event. So those are 2 ways, or many ways, that we get projects. This is what we've done for the city of Deltona. Now, keep in mind, we are a sales and marketing organization. We are not necessarily here to build product. We are not necessarily here to get it financed. We are here to do marketing and sales. And as I said in the past 2 slides there, we're at 20 sales that this community, the city of Deltona, could have right now if we could have some help on some other issues. And some of those issues have to do with some of these things. And this is why we've jumped into these things, which is doing a sector analysis report. We did a highest and best use analysis for Deltona. We're working with Jerry on the incentive program. Jerry's really working on the Flex Theme Business Accelerator. Again, with the marketing and branding plan or support. We do hold office hours, as Keith noted earlier, to answer any and all questions that you may have. We have presented to your, I believe it's called the DDAP group. We've presented to that group as well, and Tanya helped us do that, and that group asked a number of great questions. So I encourage you to talk to those folks if you have any other further questions about us or the city and how we can work together. And then the product development strategy. So this is something that, frankly, is where the rubber meets the road for Deltona. This is what we have to work on as a team should we land more projects. So these are some issues that we'd like to address, and I'm not sure if you know of these or not. It's kind of hard to read from here, but you have over 30,000 people leave this city every day for work. That isn't always necessarily a bad thing, but it's something to definitely take into consideration. We use it to our advantage sometimes, saying that we can get more employers here because so many folks do leave the city for employment. But again, it's something we have to just analyze. And Jerry has been doing a great job with understanding the workforce and how that workforce moves around in this part of the county. The other issue, as I mentioned before, that we would like to address is the real estate product development on the right-hand side. Now, these numbers are, again, a few weeks old, but here's what I want you to see. Industrial vacancy rate, 0%. Class A real estate vacancy rate, 0. Total retail, 6%. Flex vacancy rate, 0. Total flex properties, 0. So if our clients want to move into property, to move into buildings, they're already at a disadvantage. We already are short supply of what we can put them in. So that means we can do two things. We can either encourage the development community to build product, or the clients can move on. That's the option. Or they can do a build to suit. I guess there's a third option. Now, most clients don't want to do a build to suit, I will say, because their timelines have gone from 12 months, let's say, on average to 6 months. Very common in the commercial real estate world. Clients are moving faster than ever. They don't want to build if they don't have to. They'll just move on. So if that's the case, then we as a team need to figure out how to get more product available to them so we can put people in it. What I'd like to convey to you is the problem that we are seeing now is not getting Deltona known. I think Deltona gets views. The problem that I see personally and as a professional is getting Deltona to have product to put people in that space. So that's just a work relationship. So how do we do this? Here's some things that we suggested a year ago, and these are still valid. We need to market the value proposition of Deltona. I think we as an organization have done that pretty well, which is why we continue to get calls. We're actually doing a site visit, and we're looking to put hundreds of new employees out here this week with another site selector. So I believe that we are convincing them of the value proposition of this county and this city. Healthcare and medical cluster is booming, thanks to our friends at Halifax. Thank you. They are really hitting on all cylinders. We're getting a lot of attention. That's been in the paper as well. But that, in many cases, money follows money, development follows development. So I think we're all hoping that more activity follows the initial activity in the healthcare world. And I think it will. I'm sure it will. Determine short-term and long-term economic development goals. Jerry and I discuss this frequently. And this is something that I feel that we can't do. This is something the city has to do, but we can certainly be a part of that. Focus on real estate product development is the fourth item down, and that is, again, where I would suggest the city and ourselves and whomever else we can pull together focus our efforts, and that will give us the best return on our investment. And then lastly, of course, enhance the economic development marketing. Again, I think one thing that Jerry has been great about is trying to get the name out of this community, and I commend him for that. There's a couple different avenues to do economic development marketing. Some of the economic development marketing can be geared towards the local community or surrounding communities, and some can be more national in nature. Generally, we handle that. Local communities generally handle the marketing that is more localized. So that is what we have. This is a slide of our officers, as you probably have seen before, and this is us. So I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Sukup?
Yeah, you mentioned return on investment, that you want us to help you out with your return on investment. Do you know how long you guys have been providing services to the city of Deltona?
We were formed the end of 2010.
So 7 years. Do you have any idea how much money we spent with you guys?
40 or so thousand, 40, 45,000 a year, if I'm correct.
So between $300,000 to $500,000 between $300,000 to $500,000 easy we've spent, okay? Do you know of any projects in the city specifically that you can say you brought here?
Yeah, 20 projects.
That you specifically brought here? Business.
Yeah, those are all real businesses. Those are actual projects. Those are real people that want to be here. For example, the client that's coming this week, that is hundreds of new employees that want to be here.
Did you have anything with you do anything with medical?
Sure, yeah, we actually had yes.
Because I was always informed that you guys do manufacturing. That's what you guys specialize in, right?
No, that's incorrect.
That's what, here's what I got. We spend $300,000 to $500,000 with Team Volusia. Every year you guys come back, I think this is the same thing I've seen 3 times now, the same presentation, that we're gonna help you guys get the ball rolling. We need to reevaluate what Deltona's doing. You guys, you guys just did a whole study on our vacant lots in Deltona where you told us we don't have lots big enough for manufacturing, that we should focus on medical, which is what we're doing. But, you know, I'm just curious. I mean, you threw out the word return on investment. We're getting the bang for our buck. You would do the same thing if you were saying my spot to keep renewing this contract for you guys to keep making the same thing over and over again?
I would if you are serious about recruiting companies to the community and doing other investments. We're just a piece of the puzzle. Okay, we're just, for example, General Motors builds cars and sells cars. They pay salespeople to sell cars, but they got to build them too. They got to work in their product at the same time. You can't have one without the other. So
That's
if you're
manufacturing, yeah.
So if you commit to doing other investments as we've suggested, you'll be much more competitive and give us a lot more to sell. So absolutely.
And what are you telling us to do?
I would, so these things.
That what we see every year.
No, we just did that a few months back and now.
All I know is to sit up here and to answer to the taxpayers who pay the bills here, we would like to see, as you would say, more return on our investment.
Sure.
And knowing the property that we have in Deltona, knowing that we really don't own a lot of it, that we're in the hands of people who own the land, not us, to me it's going to be hard to see that return on investment. So that's why I question what we're spending.
No, that's fair, and I get it, and you would have to understand what we're trying to do to the land, and this is not the forum to have that conversation.
Thank you. Why not? We're the public. Commissioner Honaker?
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, Chris, deep breath. My question is, we have 20 projects. That's not businesses in Delta, but 20 projects submitted. We can't particularly speak about which project, but do we have any in above stage 3, which is a subsequent site visit?
So we're doing a site visit this week.
But I mean, do we have anything above stage 3, which stage 4 is project negotiation? And then do we have any above stage 3, which stage 3 being the subsequent site visits?
Okay, so let's, I show someone a property. At that point, it's not up to me or anyone else. It's up to, does that property fit the bill for that client?
Oh, right.
Right? So I can't control that. My job is to bring people to those properties that are sellable, and that's what I do. I bring people to those properties.
Oh, I agree. I'm just on your tracking here where you got the different stages and we have 20. I was just wondering if we had any above stage 3. That upside down pyramid.
Yeah, right. I can look. Yeah, I don't believe so.
Okay, all right. And then, just asking.
That's fair.
Deep breath, just clarifying information. Industrial vacancy rate is 0. So what are you suggesting we do if we have no industrial base rate coming up? And budget-wise, we can't build a site ready for them. We don't have any buildings for industrial to go in, so it's 0%. So what are we going to sell to them?
So
If they want a building, I mean, we can't build a building for them.
Right, so we've been working with Jerry on this particular issue. And what you can do is help those people that do have the funding to take the risk. And you can do that by a number of ways. The main way is to lower their risk. So you can provide things like deferred payments or incentives to end users. You can extend utilities. You can do a number of things. And
So work on our incentives package as far as
that's
what we can
one.
do.
That's why it's on the list, correct.
Okay, all right.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Alcantara?
Can you name some of the businesses you helped bring here in the past 3 years? Not to show them property, not to do real estate, what a realtor does, but that actually have brought jobs to the city in the past 3 years. Can you name some of the businesses?
Well, those have not landed yet.
Huh?
Those projects have not landed here.
Okay, so, you know, we've been paying Team Volusia since 2010, and you can't tell me what jobs are here that you guys have helped brought to the city. You know, to me, that's a problem. And I see a sheet here that I got emailed today. It has announced projects from 2012 to 2017, and it has the land, Daytona Beach, New Smyrna Beach, Ormond Beach, Port Orange, Edgewater. Deltona's nowhere on here, and it shows the capital investment that they put into those cities. So, you know, with budget talks coming up, you know, I think that we definitely got to look into putting our money elsewhere, and I just want to put that out there.
All right, Vice Mayor Novick?
Thank you, Mayor. We had a economic development strategic plan meeting with the community a few weeks ago. When can we expect that report and make that an actionable item? Because that is on here for short-term, long-term economic development goals, Madam Manager.
Yes, I believe I've been in contact with Marilyn Karate, and I believe she will be available at the next commission meeting.
Okay. And one of the things that we've continually heard, Chris, is about flex space. Are you guys trying to target a developer or market to some developers to create some flex space?
So knowing that product availability is limited, we have kind of taken a different approach and tried to go after folks that have capital and can build product. And so yes, actually as late as this weekend, we are working with a couple clients, but one in particular who's very interested in being in Deltona, providing product. And what we're trying to do is comfort his investors so they make investments and build product, flex space.
Right. And, you know, I take a slightly different view than Commissioner Alcantara and Commissioner Sukup, although I do agree we've spent a lot of money. However, this is a long-term investment. We brought you guys on in what, 2010? 11. In some of the worst economic times that we've had in recent years. So I think we're just getting ready to turn the corner. I'm not so sure I'm ready to see us pull the plug, if you will. I'm not saying that I'll totally support the funding at budget time either, but it seems like there's an uptick in activity. And I just want to make sure that we are positioned properly to have the flex space, to create this strategic economic development plan. And I've also asked the manager to look at doing another strategic plan with the existing business community to work on business retention within the city. How can we take a business that has been here a while, been successful, made it through the tough economic times? Now's the time to springboard those companies and businesses into growing as well. So I hope that we'll see another public forum where we take the existing business community and work on a strategic plan for incentivizing them to grow here and stay here. It's a tough thing to market Deltona. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's infrastructure issues. It was designed basically as a residential community, but there is product to be sold. There is space available. It's just managing to marry up the right people. So you guys have a tough row to hoe, and we're gonna hold your feet to the fire.
Thank you, Commissioner Hertzberger.
Thank you, Mayor. So just a couple comments. First of all, about bringing jobs to the area, if you look at, when you look at the number where 32,000 people leave the city every single day, that's huge, but understand that some of those people are working in jobs that Team Volusia has brought in. For example, Frontier Communications that opened up in DeLand and several other things. Because people are leaving Deltona doesn't necessarily mean they're not benefiting from an economic development agency that's bringing jobs to the area. That's number one when you look at the bigger picture. Number two, my question is, when we look at those 32,000 and change people that leave, what I would like to see the city do, and I don't know how you would go about doing that, is look at, I don't know if you would survey, I don't know how numbers figure that out, but what kind of jobs are those people leaving for? Are they leaving for high-tech jobs in IT to work at the Space Center? Are they leaving for jobs that work in the hotel industry in Orlando or in Daytona? Are they leaving for manufacturing or light manufacturing jobs that are in other areas? And if you look at what they're leaving for, and I'm not talking about retail, because the retail is a great base for us, and we all seem to want restaurants and a few things to purchase locally. But if you're really realistically looking at building your income base, it's not always in a retail forum. So if we could go ahead and look and see what those people are leaving for, and to see if the possibility is to attract those type of jobs to Deltona, and maybe target market that. For example, people that are leaving to work in assisted living facilities at another area, we have one coming in now, or work in the medical field somewhere. I mean, it's not necessarily going to be that easy, and there's some things we can't compete with. We can't compete with hotel jobs. We don't have any at this point that provide that. We can't compete with the Space Coast. We can't compete with, certain other areas that's to bring that type of job here. The other comment that I have is the question of funding for Team Volusia always comes up. And if you look at what happened in the state, there was a big toss-up between the governor and the Speaker of the House as to whether or not to even fund any type of economic development, tourist-based funding for any of the agencies that bring businesses and locate them to Florida. And just like the state of Florida is competing with California and especially Texas and New York and Michigan for businesses, we in Deltona are competing not only with fellow cities in Volusia County, we're competing with Seminole County. Other areas are, especially on the East Coast, are competing with Brevard County for a lot of the space issues and businesses. So I guess my question is, if the city doesn't want to spend the money to be a part of Team Volusia and be a part of the draw to try to get some business here, what's another solution? How would we target economic development in a different manner using $45,000? Because you can't even hire another employee to help Jerry out for $45,000 a year. You really, that would be to hire an economic development professional to help out Jerry to go ahead and market this city full-time. You would have to do a lot of expenses in terms of traveling and everything else and just general in-house marketing. And when you look at it that way, I personally feel like right now Team Volusia has the handle on marketing, the new marketing strategy, which is marketing not only Volusia, because the reality is people don't even know how to pronounce Volusia in other areas. They don't know what Volusia is. But to go ahead and market the area, the greater Daytona area, and when you're marketing Volusia County as a whole and us, that's expensive. And we just don't have a lot of product. We have land out on Howland Boulevard that's owned by multiple owners that we have no control over. Am I correct? Whether they want to sell that property or not, and whether that wants to be an investment. I've said it over and over again. We had a distribution center that wanted to come out there, correct, at one point, but the landowners wouldn't break up the land, and the center didn't want the full acreage. So those are things that Deltona as a city has challenges with. So, I mean, thank you for all that you do, and I know that it's tough to market this city. We don't have vacant industrial space. We don't have a lot of vacant anything except retail, right? And some office. So, I don't know, I'm always a positive person. I feel like Deltona is growing, and the medical facilities and everything are positive. So thank you for all that you do, and hopefully the next year will show us that we can draw high-paying
Commissioners,
jobs.
this was a presentation, really not a debate or a discussion. I guess we're going to have later at budget time, but this is basically an update. I think it boils down to, if you don't have a product to sell, it's impossible for them to sell it. So they're doing all they can. Everybody they can convince to build, put bricks and mortar together would do it. Without that, I echo what Commissioner Hertzberg said. It's just, you have to be a player or you're going to be left out totally. Unless there's an objection, can we move on? Or Commissioner Sukup, do you have another comment to make?
Well, I mean, my last one was two good comments. And listen, you're not here to get beat up. I understand we vote to keep you here anyway, and it's a tough job, like Commissioner Novick said. But she did mention the land, and the land got Frontier, which I remember Frontier was talking about trying to come here, but they ended up going over there. You mentioned car sales. To me, what's happening right now is I have $10,000 in my hand, and I'm coming to your Mercedes-Benz lot trying to buy a car. It's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. And, I just think we all heard it from everybody here. The parcels of land in Deltona that we don't own, that's owned by somebody else, we're relying on too many things, variables outside. And I agree with a couple of the commissioners that it could just be spent elsewhere. I thank you for doing what you're trying to do. We understand it's a tough sale. I just question if it's the right thing to spend our money on. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Alcantara?
And we are competing with other cities in Volusia, and we're using the same people they are. That's the issue. And insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Thank you.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, next item on the agenda is a discussion. Thank you, Keith, and Chris, thanks a lot for coming in. Next item, Mr. Mays?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to address one thing if I may. Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission. Mr. Wimsatt made one comment that seemed to get a rise out of the audience, and that was, this is not the forum to discuss that. I simply ask that the Commission and the audience realize that economic development has a very high confidentiality ratio to it. That's why economic development is a set-aside under Sunshine under Florida Statute 228075. Most of the transactions that were shown tonight, if you notice, have project names instead of actual company names. That's because of confidentiality. That's what Mr. Wimsatt was speaking of when he said this is not the time or forum to do that. It would be breaking the law.
Thank you, sir. All right, annual audit. Mr. Klinger, you're going to introduce our guests from Purvis Gray. Well, they've been here so long we know who they are, but to formally, you can introduce them, I guess.
Yes, sir. These are familiar faces, that's for sure. We have with us tonight partner with Purvis Gray, Mark White, and the head trooper on the audit, Lori Walker.
Okay, thank you, Bob, and good evening, Mayor and City Commission. I'm Mark White. This is Lori Walker, representing the leadership of your financial audit team from Purvis Gray and Company. We are here to essentially complete the audit process by reviewing the audit report back to the governing board, who we work for. So that's what we are doing here tonight. We'd like to, before we start reviewing the actual reports, just a few general comments. Certainly.
Get rid of this, if I could. This way it's not distracting anyone else.
Okay, very good. Just a couple of general comments about your fiscal year ended September 30th, 2016, which is the audit period. It was essentially a pretty good year for the city. You were able to add to the general fund's fund balance, and you were, excuse me, able to add to the Deltona Water's net position for the year while doing that within the budget. So I think that was a good accomplishment for the year. I think the big transaction that dominated your fiscal year in 2016 was the 2016 capital improvement refunding revenue bonds, which refunded the old transportation bonds and provided additional funding for transportation projects within the city as well as the community center project. So that was probably the largest single individual transaction, if you will, that occurred during the year and was included within our audit. So we are here today to review the CAFR, standing for Comprehensive Annual Financial Reporting, or report, and this document meets all of your external financial reporting requirements. The Florida statutes require all local governments to undergo a financial audit every year. The Auditor General of the state of Florida implements those statutes through their rules, so this report will meet that requirement. Additionally, the city receives state grant fundings, so the state single audit reports are included in here. It will satisfy those requirements as well. The city every year submits this document to GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, to be graded, if you will, to be reviewed. And when you do a CAFR, this exceeds the minimum requirements of what the statute requires. The statute simply requires that the city have a report prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The CAFR by GFOA goes beyond that. There's a variety of statistical tables that are included in the document. There's additional reporting and disclosures. So this will be submitted to GFOA, and we fully expect that you will once again receive the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. And the reason I bring that up, the reason it's important, is that's the highest standards for external financial reporting that a local government can do. There's nothing beyond that. So the fact that the city does a CAFR every year is great. Additionally, this will also help with your secondary bond market disclosures, because the city has tax-exempt bonds that can be traded on the open market. There's additional disclosures that have to be made to anyone who might want to buy those. This document goes a long way for meeting that. As far as our reports, our primary auditor's report, this is a financial audit, so the scope of this is primarily to audit the financial statements of the city. So our primary report, which is found on page 1, tells you that we have audited your financial statements as of and for the year ended September 30th, 2016, and that that management is responsible for the preparation of the financial statements accurately and in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and that our responsibility as the auditors is to express an opinion on those financial statements based upon our audit work. And it goes on to tell you some of the standards that we are required to follow. The ultimate conclusion of that report is the opinion, where we tell you that in our opinion, the financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and free of material misstatements. So that's the primary report. It also references reports on your internal control structure, and we're pleased to say that we have identified no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in your internal control over financial reporting. That is a good thing. We do have a management letter recommendation included in the management letter section of our report, but it is not in our judgment, we do not consider it to be a significant deficiency or material weakness. So that's very positive. Additionally, there's a report. The state of Florida is very concerned that local governments follow the state statute in the investment of public funds. I guess a lot of cities, counties, special districts have not done a great job of that through the years. So the state has put the burden on the financial auditors, which is us, to audit your compliance with Florida Statute 218.415, which is the statute that defines how you will conduct yourselves in the investment of the funds. And we have a report that says, in our opinion, you have complied with the statute. Additionally, there is the Auditor General Management Letter, which hits a number of bullets that everything is pretty good there. And as I indicated at the very back, the very last couple of pages, we do have a management letter recommendation on the city's general controls over IT. So that is essentially a summary of the report. We work for you. We're here to take any questions, comments, or
Okay,
whatever you'd like
I
to
noticed that
discuss.
IT has already implemented some of your suggestions already. We're getting, where's Steve at? Is he not here? Steve hiding over there? Yeah, I get little notes every day, and I've got to re-enter stuff all the time and everything else. So it is tightening up. Sometimes we think it's frustrating, but it sure does help a lot with security here. So Caduce, the staff are already jumping on it before we got your full report. But I didn't notice a bunch of changes being made through our IT department, which is great. Commissioners, anybody else? Commissioner Sukup?
Yeah, I got a lot of questions, but I'm actually going to get with Mr. Klinger this week and then bring those back to you guys. The only question I have for you is, do you know how many years you guys have been performing this for us?
No, not off the top of my head, several.
Several?
Yeah, it's about 7, I think.
Is it normal to have the same auditing company do it every year after year?
Yes, that's very common. Matter of fact, there have been studies that prove that the more tenure that the auditing company has with its client and understands them and knows their control strengths and weaknesses, the better quality audit that you get. In fact, some of those studies have shown that audit failures are more often to occur at the time that you change firms. If you think you have a firm that is doing a good job for you, meaning coming at it fresh every year, not taking anything for granted, which I'm here to represent to you that we do, the consensus among the standard setters and the professionals that if you got the right people, you got the right people.
Now, my last question is, you're looking at dollar and cents, basically. You're looking at the zeros and the pluses and minuses. Do you take in consideration if capital improvement projects are not being done to fluff the budget, or is it, are you looking at just strictly, hey, this is what you have in-house? You're not looking at what we were scheduled to budgeted to do that year and didn't get done?
No, this is more fact-based, historical, what did occur, not what could have occurred.
Okay.
If I'm answering you.
Well, yeah, I mean, you answered my own question. I figured that's where it was going, so thank you.
A lot of that, too, is I've found out over the years, and I think I sat down with you and you explained to me, a lot of it is checking to make sure we're doing things right and reporting right, especially when we get with all of the requirements we have for reporting. Not only are they making sure it balances and money's being appropriated properly, but making sure we fill out all the necessary reports. We had a real problem back in '04 with the hurricanes and FEMA money and all that, making sure everything was, I know some of you remember that far back, but it was a real mess. But thank you all very, very much. That seems to be it. We appreciate it.
Okay,
Good
thank
going.
you very much.
Bob Klinger's still here. Where's Bob? Bob, how many years in a row we've had that certificate of excellence? About 7 years, isn't it? 7, 8 years? More than that? Is it? 10 or 12? Okay, so thank you all. You've been a big part of that.
Absolutely, and I would like to just close by acknowledging your staff and thanking your staff. We come in with a crew of 5 to 6 CPA auditors, and we want what we want when we want it. And your staff gives us great cooperation all the way from the top, city manager, all the way through. We work very closely with Mr. Klinger and Ms. Hooper, but really all of your department heads. And I would like to, I believe we have scheduled the interim work that we're going to be doing towards the 2017 audit. I believe it's the week of June 12th. So we will be on site performing some of our audit work. So I would invite any of the city commissioners and mayor that would like to come and visit with us and see what we do and ask any questions. We'd be glad to entertain you.
And Lori, thanks for all your comments. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I kind of hogged the show. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot. All right, thank you very much. We're going to City Commission Special
Mayor.
Reports. Commissioner Sukup, you wanted to talk about parks.
Mayor, did we need a motion for this?
No, it's
We
a
don't need to
report.
move to, we don't need a motion to approve?
We don't need a
We're-
motion.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Contract position was done. Okay, Commissioner Sukup.
Yeah, as everybody knows, last Monday night, we did a Parks Capital Improvement Plan and had a very good turnout, very good. I would estimate anywhere between 100 and 150 people. In that presentation, they went over a wide range of topics, and there were a few people that had some questions on their way out, being that it was a park CIP, and walking in, seeing, the center coming in, the first thing you see, and then there was a couple projects listed that they said we were going to be spending money on, storage facilities at the Veterans Museum, a couple $100,000 at Thornby Park. And the parents were wondering, and there was one gentleman who's very involved in the city throughout the soccer program who was extremely frustrated because he said this is not his first rodeo going down here. He said every 5 years he sits through the same thing where the community comes in, they basically tell the city what they want, and it's usually more parks, better quality parks, and more fields, and then we sit back here another 5 years from now and don't get anything accomplished. The thing that broke my heart is listening to the parents, there was one parent especially, and watching those kids, that they thought when they walked out of here that something's going to get done. I mean, they think as they sat up here and said this, that something's going to get done. And what concerns me is not being able to fulfill that for them. And I look at the community, I say community center. I mean, look at what you need. I noticed that the CAFR says community center, but it's not really a community center. It's an event center. It's a business. So the citizens of Deltona, they're frustrated because we're spending money on a center and not putting it into parks and rec. And these kids are dying and begging for. I can tell you firsthand knowledge that our kids in this city are playing baseball in DeBerry because the fields are nicer and there's better programs. We already know about the gymnasium situation. We don't have a volleyball program. We don't have a true football field. And they just see where we're spending our money. And like I said, it was a park CIP plan, and we're advertising. I know we're trying to get it out, but when they see $100,000 for a storage unit at a Veterans Museum, when we see a couple $100,000 in Thornby Park, most of them were asking where Thornby Park even was. I just say this community is relying on us to give them what they want. The stats are staggering. When Parks was going over the stats, and there's 25,000 kids under the age of 18, and you're graduating 65% to 70% of them, they're dying for more parks and rec. And I mean, there's a big, and I'll get more into it in my closing comments, but I believe the way the center is going, and that it now is a business, it's not even, I mean, the community, I won't even be able to afford it if I wanted to use it. I just say we should look at it and say, okay, is that where we're going? But we need to give these people what they're looking for, and either you're going to have to tap into reserves to get this thing done, or you're going to have to stop projects. And I don't know what the right way or the wrong way to do it is. So thank you.
All right. And Commissioner, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, you wanted to give us a little update on TPO?
Yeah, I wasn't able to go this month. The mayor went in my place. The existing projects for the intersection improvements at Catalina and Howland are still on track and funded, and the improvements for the intersections of Tivoli and Providence, as well as Tivoli and Saxon, are still on track. But there was a call for projects. This is a long-term organization, the TPO, that looks several years out, and each year there's a call for new projects. This year there were 50 applications that were submitted for a call for projects, and because of Jane's work and the staff's work, we were able to get 2 of our projects into the queue. Now, they're not funded yet, but they're being looked at, which means we will need to make a decision for Providence Boulevard, a shared use path, and the Elkham Boulevard paved shoulder project were the 2 that were placed into the queue. And so the quicker we get those into design, whether it's 30%, 50%, 60%, the more points we will score to move those projects along, and it is a first come, first serve basis. So as we move into this next budget cycle, these will be 2 projects that staff will prioritize for funding for design, so that we can continue to move them forward with the TPO. Keep in mind, it's only been really the last couple of years that we've actually seen TPO dollars coming into the city on a fairly regular basis, and that's because Jane has really met with the TPO staff and our staff, got them all together, figured out the exact methodology of how to submit the projects and what prioritizes it, where we get the biggest bang for our buck in order to score points to get them placed on the list. So we've been very successful in building that team and getting that information to the TPO so that we can continue to have projects. Now, 2 projects out of 50 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you look at the whole county, both Volusia County and all the cities, and the amount of staff we have to manage these projects internally, 2 to 3 projects a year is a good number for us to keep in the queue. So we have 2 in the queue now, Catalina and Howland, and then the Tivoli intersections, and now we've just added 2 more that will follow right behind those in the next couple of years to come. So this is a year-to-year program, and we just need to keep feeding things into the queue and moving them up the ladder and funding for those matching dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to bring up one thing, is Vice Mayor has been handling the duties of TPO, but with about 8 or 10 years experience with TPO, it's probably one of the hardest organizations to get used to how they act and the acronyms they use and everything else, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to get somebody else in there. But you need to watch what's going on, where there's some changes, and I think one thing I do want to brag on that has been set up by Jane, before the meetings, we now meet the day before. The representative, who's ever going to represent the city at the meeting, and we have kind of a little, just a kind of a go over the agenda meeting, and we get Ron Paradise, Chris Boley, and Jane and I sat down, and it's amazing how quick you can be brought up to date what's going to transpire at that meeting, because they attend other meetings where a lot of discussions take place before the elected officials get in the room. So it helped a lot, and we had a lot of support from DeLand on changing. One of the problems they're going to start looking at over the next several months, and I can't really spend a lot of time talking to Chris outside of an open meeting, and that is to stop this business where if it's a 10% match on a project, it gets into the queue and it moves up and it gets funded, and then when they go out to bid the job, the project comes in 60, 80, 100,000, couple $100,000 over what the original plan was, and they still want to take that money out of the reserves, and it kicks another project back. So that's going to have to be worked out with a compromise. But I just want to tell you, you're up on that, I know, but I wanted the rest of the commissioners to know that that's one of the things that is of a big concern now, because once you reach the queue, as the Vice Mayor says, and you look at your project going, if all these other projects are over budget, they're taking that money out of the pile and you don't ever seem to advance. So they're going to try to correct that.
And part of the problem is that these projects, like I said, they take several years from inception to actually putting brick and mortar in place. And during that time, material costs go up. And so one of the things, I'm on the executive committee now, one of the things that we're going to try and address at the executive committee is after a project's been in the process for a certain amount of time, that's undetermined right now what that time is, but it would get either another look at it to try and reevaluate. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to stall the project either and delay it by having that re-review. So if we could come up with a number that after a project is 4 or 5 years old, it automatically gets a 10% increase, or something that a consultant would have to tell us what the appropriate number is. But that's what happens. The cost of materials goes up, there's cost overruns, or things just come up. Now, we were fortunate with the Doyle Road Shoulder project that the county's doing. There was a cost overrun there. We had put some water lines in the ground, and we needed to look at protecting those lines as that shoulder project was happening. We went with the county, we went back to the TPO, we got the additional funding for that. It's not even our project, it's the county's project for protecting our water lines, and the TPO said, well, that makes sense. It makes sense to go and fund that up front rather than to have to go back and tear it up and fix it. So a lot of it's communication and working with the different partners, and Mr. Paradise does a fantastic job on the technical committee and bringing the right information back to the elected officials group so that we can make an informed decision.
All right, Commissioner Honaker, and then we're going to move along.
Yes, sir, and I waited till the end because it was really a point of order on Commissioner Hertzberg's question about the CAFR on the cover page of the agenda item. Even though it was a presentation, they do have a recommended motion to move to approve the city's comprehensive financial report.
To accept it.
So it's not required? I mean, they
I
have
don't
that
know
on
that
there.
it's required. We've done it both ways. We've approved it, not.
So I know it was under presentations, but they have
Make a motion,
potential
sir. Make a motion, still.
I move to approve the city's comprehensive annual financial report for the period ending September 30th, 2016.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded for approval of accepting the CAFR report for Purvis Gray and Associates. All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Honaker.
Okay. Public forums, next item on the agenda. People that have filled out a form want to speak.
Rafael Ramirez.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Rafael Ramirez, 23 Eagle Court, Ormond Beach. As you all know, I work at Halifax Health. I am here, first of all, to thank those of you who came to our grand openings. I'm pretty proud to say we're up to nearly 40 patients a day. Everybody, all the processes and everything is moving along. I also have a letter from the president of our development partner company, Landmark Development, thanking the city for the staff for all of their assistance. So if the time allows, I'd like to read it. It's brief.
As long as it's within your time limit, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead.
To whom may concern, from Anthony Lampasona, president of Landmark Healthcare. The new Halifax freestanding emergency department is complete. Many great folks put forth great efforts to achieve this milestone. Landmark Healthcare facilities could not have achieved this milestone without the help and guidance of the City of Deltona, City Manager Dane Chang, the Planning and Development team, and other city departments. Jane and her team contributing greatly to a smooth planning, development, and construction process, and we're honored to have worked with so many good people on this project and share this common goal. Jane and her team went above and beyond what is typical in order to integrate successfully with the project team. We genuinely appreciate the added advice, assistance, and fair and reasonable consideration we received over the last year. We work in many planning departments on a national basis, and the experience with Jane and her team has been an exercise in exactly how the private and public partnership can be successful and achieve the objective of all parties. On a personal note, in more than 16 years of development projects, I have never witnessed a city manager as engaged and proactive as Jane. It is very refreshing to have someone with that amount of energy and dedication working with us rather than against us. Please extend these thanks to Jane and everyone in the City of Deltona.
The community is a real beneficiary of this hard work and efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
I
it.
was at the Board of Commissioners meeting, and they echo the sentiments of this letter.
Could you make us copies of that?
Actually, I will send the original letter as soon as I get it. Be happy to.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Raphael. Next.
Pat Gibson.
Pat Gibson, 230 Cortland Boulevard. Sent you guys all out an email today. Did everybody get it? Okay. What I'd like to do is talk about the Florida Building Code. Requires product approvals for certain products and categories of a building, for instance, the building envelope. Florida Building Code 110.3.9, where impact-resistant coverings or impact-resistant systems are installed, the building official shall schedule adequate inspections of impact-resistant coverings or impact-resistant systems to determine the following. The system indicated was installed. The system installed is in accordance with the manufacturer's installation instructions and the product approval. Now, and is a nailing inspection actually one of the parts of the inspection process while the roof is being put on? Depends on what you're, and what by nailing, that the fastening inspections for what sheathing. How about attaching shingles on the roof? No. That was Lee Grosner. Let's see what Steve Rowland had to say. Is it normal for the city of Deltona, as part of a re-roof process, when they're doing an inspection, to check the nailing pattern? No. These are certified court transcripts. Let me see, Tamco. I'm writing to you as following up on a recent conversation regarding your limited warranty claim. You're inquired as the application of the shingles and the application instructions, along with the limited warranty, and printed on the wrapper of each bundle of shingles. Each bundle of shingles comes with the product approval and the manufacturer's specifications on how to install those shingles. The installation instructions require the shingles be fastened in the common bond area. Review of the shingles samples you submitted indicates the samples were fastened above the common bond area. That's from Tamco, the manufacturer of the shingles. That's after you guys passed the roof from the ground again. Okay? They repassed my roof in 2012. 2 weeks later, I had William John's associate come around, engineer, get on that roof in a 33-page report, tear that roof apart, and we figured out exactly what was wrong with it. I guess the roof should have never passed again. How do you guys do an inspection without getting on a roof? How can you check the nailing pattern of shingles if you don't lift them up? When you were asked, do you have the manufacturer's instructions, she was asked that question. Let's go back to that. The nailing pattern is either by Chapter 9 of the Building Code or the manufacturer's specs, okay? Now, she basically stated that we don't have that. That's not provided to her because you guys are not inspecting it while the shingles are being laid on the roof, okay? There is no time limit that you can file a complaint on a building inspector or a code administrator, okay? No time limit. I could file it now or I could file it in 5 years. I have additional videos showing exactly what was done. Mike Mason passed the nailing pattern on the roof for nailing down the sheathing. Found out when we tore the old roof off, a quarter of it wasn't re-nailed. It's on video. It's falsification of a building permit, John. It's a criminal act, and you've been doing it for 7 years. I am also requesting from the city right now.
Your time is up.
I'm also requesting from the city right now, on record, I want all copies, all permit numbers for the last 7 years.
Thank you, ma'am.
If you're not going to notify these people, I'm going to do it for you. And it will
Ms.
be
Gibson,
turned into the Florida Building Commission.
You understand the rules. Your time is up, and I saw your email requesting that information, so I'm sure the city clerk will comply with the public records request. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next.
Nancy Sliker.
Hi, Nancy Schleicher, 1460 Baton Drive. Mayor and Commissioners, before I say anything, I'd also like to extend my sympathies to the Bradford family as well, and we hope that they can get through this difficult time. But what I'm here tonight is I want to speak on congratulating you, and I know I sent you an email about it, but it was using the flyer in your water bill, just to notify and information to residents that the facility for our hospital or emergency room is open. You know, as one who's championed quite strongly for better community communications, I was pleased to see this being used. And I actually had some people who've been asking me, when is the hospital going to be open? Because they heard bits and pieces. They don't live up in that area, and they heard bits and pieces about the hospital. And when they got their bill and they saw that, they said, wow, it's really opening? And I said, yes, it's actually opening. I did actually hear back from one commissioner who disagreed because they felt that it was not being equitable to all businesses. While that may be true, this is a little different in that this was more of a public service notification, because this is the first 24-hour, 365-day emergency facility we have for our residents within our community. We were so excited when Fish Memorial started opening in Saxon Boulevard, except again, it's not open at night or on the weekends. This is open 24 hours, 365 days of the year. And for some, that is going to be a huge benefit. But, you know, don't have to say that concerning other businesses, have we ever ignored them? I just want to say that perhaps either a commissioner has forgotten about it or didn't realize the many, many ribbon cuttings and notifications we've had, thanks to Jerry Mays. And actually, Al Everson, I'm glad from the Beacon is here tonight, because they have been active with many of our openings, from everything from the health facility, the health food facility out in Howland Boulevard, to the Mia Casita, I believe I'm pronouncing it correctly, bakery on Providence Boulevard, to the Fish Memorial Health Complex there at Saxon Boulevard, all the way down to the Family Music Center on Deltona Boulevard. These were all done with much flair, ribbon cutting. Mr. Evenson had taken pictures of many of them, have been in the Beacon, and of course our staff is there videotaping the openings of all these businesses. And I also have to give credit to Lee Lopez for not only doing the coverage of those and putting on our DTV, but for many of those businesses, he's gone and done individual business spotlights. And if you haven't seen them, you might want to go on to our DTV, because you'll see a tour of the Fish Memorial Hospital facility. You'll see a tour and actually a little, I believe it's a little cooking demonstration from the Cocky Roosters restaurant. So we have done a lot of public information, or let's say for other businesses, to letting them out. And I hope we would continue using every avenue we can. And if we have something that is a safety concern or a benefit to our residents in safety and health, we really, really need to get that information out there as quickly and best as possible. And I commend you for what you've done. And I want to thank you for continuing that open communication, get that information out to our residents in any way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Next.
Doug McDonald.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. It's Doug McDonald.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. 1494 Surrey Run Court, Deltona. I just want to address a continuing issue, what I call governance for the commission, as well as for the public. As I speak right now, there are 3 cases, active cases, involving misconduct on the part of other city commissions, not you all. 2 of these cases are in the court system. No decision has yet been reached on either one of them. One of the cases is in Volusia County, and the other case is in an adjoining county. So I speak close to home here. And what I'm hopeful is that when these decisions come down, there will be guidelines and perhaps regulations about your conduct of the public, and just general restrictions as to make the meetings more appropriate. So that kind of remains to be seen. But here tonight, I wanted, again, to bring up the issue of civility among the commissioners. And I think you tried to address this issue several months ago. And for several reasons, that never came to light. I would ask you, again, to revisit that issue if you can, so that the personal attacks or the invective against the city manager and others hopefully will cease. Now, it's a two-way street, the public as well as the commission. Now I bring you 2 issues from the public here at this podium, in which one person, this was in the recent past, attacked the mayor directly with some critical comments that were absolutely out of line. And in the other instance, it was a vice mayor, and he was attacked based on other activities that he did. It had nothing to do with his work in the commission. So there was very unpleasant and unsatisfactory commentary going on. Now, I go back many years here, and I can remember the time when there was a rule that no one from the public could directly, specifically address the sitting mayor or commissioner with these type of comments. What happened to that? I don't see that. And my comments have been critical in the past. I haven't named anybody. And I don't think that I should. So, in short, I would urge you to revisit that rule, if I am correct, and possibly reinstitute that. I don't see any reason why any of you should have to take that sort of personal abuse. My last comment, we have an election coming up next year. We all know that. I know the mayor's seat will be vacant. Sorry to see that. And we have and we have 2 commissioners, I think, whose seats are also up, if I'm not mistaken. Commissioner Honecker, 3? Sorry about that. Commissioner Sukup, maybe? I don't know the 3rd one. But at any rate, with this election season not too far away, and we have the commentaries I've just described, I see this method of carrying over into the election process. This is not good for the city. We don't want it. You don't want it. So I'm asking you all to try to work together and improve the climate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Santiago Avila.
Hi, Commission. Santiago Avila Jr., 710 Armadillo Drive. I want to start by sending my condolences to Anita Bradford's family. I pray that the Lord gives her strength, her and her family. We might not agree on a lot of things, but we never want to see one of our commissioners, go through something like that. So my prayers go out to her and her family. Secondly, I want to commend somebody up in that commission, if you allow me to. I've been meeting with some people around the city, and one of our commissioners has been going out and above to help out one of the schools. And that's Commissioner Mitch Honecker, and I want to thank you for what you're doing. One of the principals from Friendship Elementary said that you've been very helpful towards them. So I think that we should commend them for that. Sometimes we don't see or hear about things, and I think that's something positive for the city. I went to the Halifax event that they hosted. It was a beautiful event. One of the an observance that I'm going to let you guys know about is, I understand that there was a second grand opening where the commission went along with you, Mayor, but the community was asking for the longest about why they didn't see any of the commissioners or yourself at the opening where the community was invited to. Everybody went. It was a great event. Not criticizing, just for future references, you guys might want to show up to that. Representative David Santiago was there. I mean, the community wanted to see you guys be involved with them. I want to thank our firefighters. They've been actually doing a great job with all these fires that are happening with the brush fires. I know some of them, I guess, got hurt or something, so our prayers go out to them as well. I want to commend Jerry Mays. He's doing a really good job, I think. I met with him a couple days ago, and he has a lot of weight on his shoulders. So now I want to get into some more serious issues, and mind you, I'm being very respectful. We want to keep in mind that this is the United States of America. There's something called the First Amendment. We can be respectful and disagree. That's what I love about my country, is that we can disagree on principal things while being respectful. Meaning that we don't have to limit somebody's talking or come up with weird civility ordinances. That's not what our founding fathers wanted. Now, I sent everybody on that commission 2 emails in the last couple of days. One of them had to do with the community center. And I'm really trying to, and I have no time, but I really want you guys to really sit down and think about what's happening with this community center. I mean, with these, with the home exemptions coming through and going up $25,000, that's gonna negatively affect Deltona. I think it was $1.3 million. We need to make sure that we have the right person managing this community center. And then regarding the tag readers, I mean, we have people in the city monitoring residents on Facebook, on social sites. Now we're monitoring every time they come in and out of a certain place. This is the United States. We don't live in Cuba or Venezuela. Why do we need something like that? And then the residents coughed up the $90,000 to pay for them. I support law enforcement 110%, and I can show my account to prove it. But if they really wanted tag readers, the Volusia County Sheriff's Office should have paid for it, not us. There's a monthly maintenance fee on this. I mean, where's all that information going to go? I've gone through articles and articles of issues where there's been breaches into that. And really quick, there was a law that just passed that died on the House, the State 571. That's going to be reintroduced very quickly. We just lost $90,000 for nothing.
All right, thank you, sir.
Michael Potowski.
I don't.
Oh, Mike had to leave.
I guess he left, yeah. Is that anyone else?
Brandy White.
Brandy White, Chalmers Street. $100,000. What could you do with $100,000? Well, right now we have a budget for a storage unit. When our children are playing sports on fields with broken scoreboards, parks are in disrepair, they're asking for fields to be fixed. The museum is a 501(c)(3), and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this information because I'm not familiar with a lot of it. But do we budget this type of money to any other 501(c)(3) organizations? I'll be doing a request for that. That's just a heads up. This 501(c) is not held accountable for the people who are funding the money going into it. More importantly, the storage unit or the storage building that we want built could be covered with ECHO money. So my question is, why are we not using ECHO money to build this building instead of our budgeted money? The only thing I could find is because then accountability and transparency comes into play, and there's actually accountability that you have to explain yourself on where this money's going. Personally, I feel if you're going to use $1 of our money, that should open up the transparency right then and there. We should be able to look into all the records. I just have a real big concern on knowing, because I looked into this part, ECHO funds, this does qualify for ECHO funds. So why are we not using ECHO funds? As a matter of fact, over the last 5 years, how much ECHO funds has the city received? Another thing that I'll be putting in a request for. Speaking of ECHO funds, why haven't we applied for any for our community center? Why? I mean, it qualifies. I checked. I asked. We could get ECHO money to help with the community center, but we're not. So I'm just a little confused on if we have other avenues for revenue or for help on offsetting the expenses. Why aren't we using them? Speaking of the center, I sent out 2 emails about 4 o'clock this morning that had a total of about 12 attachments. I found out this afternoon that you guys never received them. I'm not real sure why or what happened, so we did a couple trial runs, and what I decided to do was break it down into 6 emails with 2 attachments each. That seemed to do the trick. I'm a little concerned that I didn't get notice of failed delivery, so I'm not sure where the cross is with that. Maybe we can get with IT and figure that out, because now I'm wondering how many other documents I've sent you that you never received, and I'm out here thinking you received them. So that could cause some confusion. Let's see. Hopefully you guys had a chance to review all those documents and emails. I only sent you 12, but I have about 113. So if you'd like the other 100 or so, just let me know. I'll probably have to break it into, 80-something emails, but I'll get you those documents. They're in reference to the clear misrepresentation and underqualification of the new event manager. Today I received the applications of those who actually applied but didn't get selected for an interview. Now, I only had a few seconds to kind of browse through there, but 2, just browsing through, caught my attention. One specifically just graduated in the last year or so with a bachelor's in event management, had experience in event management this decade. Why were they not selected for an interview is what I'm going to find out here soon, because I'm going to actually go through there and make sure there wasn't maybe some type of disqualification that I didn't see. But what concerns me is I found that this position was only listed for 3 weeks. Something this important was only listed for 3 weeks. And we only interviewed 3 out of all the candidates that applied.
Brandy, your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Kurt Sniffen.
Good evening. This is just really brief. I just have a quick question. Today we did all this recognition for all the students, that go to school within Volusia County. I'm just wondering, and I don't have a, dog in the race, why isn't Trinity the school represented when we do these things?
Okay, all the schools are asked to participate.
Okay.
If the teachers do not send us one, we can't award it. So
Okay,
it's up
so
to
Trinity
Trinity's.
is asked to do it?
Their admin would have to submit a student for Superstars.
So you guys
Private
don't go
schools
out?
do.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
In the beginning of the year, we sent it to all the schools, private, public,
Okay.
and they're allowed to submit.
They told me I asked that before, just because they're private, they wouldn't give them in.
We've given them. This year's? Okay. I may have bad information, and because I have gone out.
Is it because they're a private
and
school?
given them at other churches. Deltona Christian, Trinity, I thought I'll check in the morning, and
I was just wondering because, they're great schools, and they do a lot.
they have a legitimate program. I don't know why we wouldn't.
Okay.
I'll check on it tomorrow, though.
All right. The second thing I'd like to bring up is the parks. I just got out of the hospital, so I was unable to attend the park thing. So I just want to give my feedback with this. We're spending $8 million on a community center, quote, event center now. I don't know how it turned into a business, but maybe I misread it when it first came out. But that $8 million could be better spent within our community. It's a done deal, $8 million out the door now. But we need to do something within our own community as far as with the kids, the student. And Commissioner Sukup brought a great point up. And I'm just going to expound on it. We just keep kicking this can down the street. We really do. And it's not fair to our kids. I don't have any kids. Well, I do. She's 29. She'll always be my little girl. But, you know, we have to do something for our kids, our youth, because it is a proven fact that kids that are active in sports stay out of trouble. It's a proven fact, but yet, you know, we complain about crime rates within this community, especially among the younger folks. We complain about the graduation rate of kids within this community. All these things are important to the success of our community. And if you guys just want to keep kicking the can down the road and don't care about the kids, say so. Maybe the community itself can come together and build the park. You know, it's like the Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. You know, it will, but we got to start when they're small. And we have to take care of these kids. We have to do something for them. And they're just dying. I mean, I used to be a Pop Warner coach for football. There's a beautiful field out in Umatilla. I don't know if anybody's been out there. They built 4 football fields. And it's one of the best programs they've got for Umatilla, which is a heck of a lot smaller than Deltona. So what can we do as a community to make you guys understand? These kids are important to us. They are vital to the success of our community. And I'm just going to leave it at that. You guys have got to do something for them. You really do. Thank you.
All right, thank you. No more? All right, commissioners, anybody interested in a break?
I'm good.
5 minutes. Okay, we're going to have a 5-minute break. Put your shoes on. consent agenda. There's no items on the consent agenda this evening, so we'll move right into ordinances and public hearings. We have a public hearing, ordinance number 36-2016, a zoning amendment RZ 16-004 for property located at southeast corner of the intersection of Normandy Boulevard and Saxon Boulevard, in the second and final reading. Mr. Paradise is here if we have questions. Is there any updates or changes to the information we have before us, Mr. Paradise? Okay, he's nodding. For those of you that can't see him, no. So, commissioners, any questions, Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm ready to make a motion.
All right, sir.
I hereby move to adopt ordinance number 36-2016, changing the zoning designation on the plus 2.5 acres subject to site located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Normandy Boulevard and Saxon from R1 single-family residential to C1 retail commercial at second and final reading.
Thank you. Commissioner Hertzberg?
Second.
All right, motion been made, seconded. Commissioner Honaker, he just took his name off the board. Okay, are there any members of the public who want to speak for or against this item? Seeing and hearing none, the motion's in order, but probably moved in second. Would you allow us to vote, please?
You want me to read it?
You got to have the city attorney.
Oh, I'm sorry. City Attorney, you got to read the ordinance. I almost forgot about you.
I had my hand up, man.
Yeah, and we're paying you to be here. Your hand doesn't work, though. You got to press the, I'm
on.
I'm watching that little thing there. Go ahead.
Ordinance 36-2016, an ordinance of the City of Deltona, Florida, amending the official zoning map pursuant to Chapter 110, Section 1101 of the City Code of Ordinances, 9 parcels located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Saxon and Normandy Boulevards from single-family residential R1 to retail commercial C1, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Fowler. I'm sorry about that. All right, now if you'd let us vote. All right, commissioners. All right, the motion passes 6-0. Moving on, the next item is item number B. And item number B is a public hearing on ordinance number 03-2017, amending the Chapter 30 elections to create Section 30-2 to be entitled Petitions to Amend City Charter, and Sections 30-3 to be entitled Signature Verification for Petitions to Amend the City Charter, establishing a recorded form, content, and certification of petitions to amend the City Charter at second and final reading. Are any comments, questions by members of the commission? Ms. Honaker, Commissioner, you want to comment?
Just ready to make a motion.
All right,
It's
sir.
the second reading.
Go ahead.
I move to adopt ordinance number 03-2017 at second and final reading.
Okay, motion been properly made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Sukup. Is there any members of the public that want to speak for or against this issue? Hearing none. Mr. Fowler.
Ordinance 03-2017, an ordinance of the City of Deltona, Florida, amending Chapter 30 entitled Elections of the Deltona Code of Ordinances to create Section 30-2 to be entitled Petitions to Amend City Charter, and Section 30-3 to be entitled Signature Verification for Petitions to Amend City Charter, establishing the required form, content, and certification of petitions to amend the City Charter, providing for conflicts, codification, severability, and for an effective date.
Thank you, sir. Would you allow us to vote, please? The motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Next item on the agenda is the city attorney comments. Mr. Fowler, you have a couple items you want to bring to our attention tonight?
Yes, sir, I do. You might remember a couple of weeks ago, I believe I mentioned to you the issues with the West Quail gym floor where there was some early failure. It's a 15-year warranty. And I had given the manufacturer until this past week to respond and give us a program by which he would repair it. They've elected to ignore the issue. So I think we need to get their attention, and I'm asking the commission for permission to sue them on their warranty for failure to comply with same.
Okay, as I understand it, you mentioned earlier that the floor is usable, but it's just deteriorating And the longer we wait, the more apt we are to end up
Yeah,
with a
it's,
failure to where the gym's unusable.
It's particularly, from what it's been explained to me now, it's particularly bad in the areas underneath the basketball courts, or underneath the baskets.
Oops, okay. All right. Commissioners, I feel that that's why we have legal representation. If these people refuse to contact us, I think a letter saying, I don't know what your procedure is, but I would imagine you've already tried to get them to respond to you. Short of that, I tell them that they have 48 hours or we're going, or submit the actual suit.
My intention, assuming the commission agrees, would be to send them another letter, enclose a copy of the lawsuit, and tell them that I already have the commission's permission and that they have some reasonably short period of time to get in touch with me, or failing that, I'll file it.
Okay, is there any discussion or comments? I feel that's an appropriate stance, Commissioner Hertzberg.
Do you need that in form of a motion or just a
Yeah,
general agreement?
I think we should make it formal, yeah, that we're going to take legal action if they
Okay.
don't respond.
Can I do that then?
Yes, ma'am, you sure can.
And Mr. Fowler, if you would let me know if I didn't do this right, I move that the City Commission of the City of Deltona directs the city attorney to engage in whatever manner is deemed successful, including filing a lawsuit, to go ahead and rectify the issue with the gym at West Cryle Park and do the floor at West Cryle Park, and just give authorization to get retribution in some way or another.
Perfect.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been probably moved by Commissioner Hertzberg and seconded by Vice Mayor. The name of the company, I guess, is both, what is it, SSE? And also the actual manufacturer, Galfor or Gerfor? USA, okay. I guess you'd go after both of them, right, then?
Yeah, most likely, Mayor, although the warranty is issued by the manufacturer, so that's
Okay.
one of those.
Well, whatever Deeb's, I think her motion and our second gives you enough latitude to go after both, all of the above or whatever. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you,
Now,
sir.
One other item, Mayor, not finished quite yet.
Yeah.
As you may know, there's a continuing dispute between the city and Mr. Lawhon with regard to an easement on the east side of town and the city sewer plant. I understand he's even filed an action against the city, although nobody's been served, as far as I can tell, for a noise complaint, which we actually stumbled across.
Excuse me, what did you say, ma'am?
I believe that you were served today.
Yeah,
What?
I believe, I didn't, I believe we may have been served. I have not seen the document.
You were
but-
served, I signed.
Okay.
Oh, well, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, but I mean, there was something served today.
Oh, today? Oh.
Today, this afternoon, late.
Anyway, but what I was going to say is in the case that is pending, not the one that I haven't seen yet, although I know of it, we have a mediation set for tomorrow, and I don't know exactly how it'll come out. I have my suspicions. But depending on what might ultimately obtain after the mediation, I may well want to sit down with the commission in a closed-door session, a SAGE session, which would be held, I guess, 2 weeks from tonight. But I really won't know that until tomorrow sometime. If we can work something out, it may be such that a shade session isn't necessary, but if we can't, you may wish to discuss it privately among yourselves without the participation of the public. And really, it's to keep the other side from knowing the strategies that we might employ.
Okay,
So it's
yeah,
kind of a
most
warning
of us
order,
are
if
familiar
you
with the
will.
shade meeting. It's outside the normal parameters. There's no one there but the commission, and you can't leak anything that goes on at meeting stays at meeting until after the case is done. I think you should proceed with the, none of us have had a chance. You were served yourself?
The sheriff came up, the representative came to serve, and it could be a commissioner, and Commissioner Honaker and I were both there to sign for the
They just served the
subpoena.
city of Deltona then?
Yes.
Okay, so nobody's had a chance to read the action or anything. So based on your
Now, that
legal
is a second
expertise.
suit, though, Mayor. The one that's
Right.
pending deals with the easement. This, as I understand it, is you're making too much noise, disrupting me. I want the courts to enjoin the city's operation. That's the one that I believe was served today.
Okay, well, let's rather speculate, have you look into it, and if we need a shade meeting for the mediation that might take place over your meeting tomorrow, I think we want to go in personally and settle all actions with him. It's been going on for a long time, so I don't want
If we
2 or
settle
3.
the one, I think it'll take care of this.
Yeah,
the
the
second.
shade meeting, that's what I'm saying. Okay? All right, no objection? Yeah, move forward then. Is that it, sir?
That's it.
Ms. Shang?
I have no comments.
No. All right, Commissioner, before we get into Commissioner comments, we're going down a road. I'm just going to make this comment. It's what you all want. We're going down this road every week or every meeting. We're getting longer and longer, and we're getting big debates. So under Commissioner comments, usually allowed with a Commissioner comment. We don't allow others to comment back and forth. That's the way I would like Commissioner comments to be, but you tell me, because we haven't got through with our commission rules. And until we get through with that and establish some rules, we have to go by what is established. And normally, we allow the commissioners to speak, and then we just move on through. We don't debate back and forth and open up items that are not agended. So that's the way I'd like to proceed, if at all possible, but you still have your right to speak, but we don't want to be speaking back and forth over one another, because we can be here all night, and then we open up a lot of can of worms, and a lot of the public's left already. So that's my intent. And if there's no objections, that's the way we'll do it tonight.
I object.
I object.
Yeah.
Okay, you both object. So you want to open this up to any subject that you want to bring up?
Yeah.
At any time?
It's the only time you can get it off your chest.
You know, we can't speak outside these meetings. This is the only time that we can speak, so.
I understand, but we could also use the action that we had adopted, where we had a section in the budget. We put the budget in the document. We put in for commissioners' special comments and things that we could bring up. And if nobody brought up any. Commissioner Sukup did say earlier he wanted to bring up something about parks, but I'll move forward. But I feel there's 2 of you that want to do it. But I just don't know how far this could go. This could get out of hand, and it's not fair to the public unless you can make a statement and ask it to be agended. We can agenda it, but to get into the debate tonight, I think is unfair. Nobody's prepared for it. You're prepared.
It's
or
unfair to
whoever.
the public if we don't discuss it, so.
Okay. All right, that's your feelings. Mr. Honecker.
And my only comment on that is we need to continue with that agenda item of redoing the commission policies.
Exactly. That's why I brought that up. We keep putting that off. That is vitally important that we get that done so we know the rules of operations. Otherwise, I have to go to what was in the past. Now you're telling me not to, but yet we haven't finished that up. So we'll proceed unless it gets out of hand, but no one else has any comments? Commissioner Sukup, you have the floor.
Yeah, and bear with me. I got some stuff I need to get through and get off my chest. So we're going to start with the flyer that was brought up tonight. As you know, a couple of them, she showed it to you. Now, the only concern I have, I'm not knocking Halifax. I'm not knocking the idea behind it. Okay, what I'm knocking is early on in my political career, whatever you want to call this thing, we talked about passing out T-shirts to Deltona High School and Pine Ridge. And we put Deltona Wolves on the front, and we were putting the logo on the back. And because we were using the logo, it had to come in front of the city commission to be approved. It couldn't just be done. And we designed this artwork, okay? We sent it to Halifax. Halifax printed the flyers and then dropped them back off, and then we put them in our water bills. So my question that I want to ask everyone here, first question is, before I brought it up 2 weeks ago, or you got your water bill, who knew that we were passing out a flyer to that was notifying Halifax? Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? So no one up here knew, okay? And that's my concern. We talk about policies right now. So I could not even pass out a T-shirt that had the City of Deltona logo, but we can advertise a business and put it in our water bill. the idea, the concept behind it, I'm not against. But I think you would have right now, you would have a line of businesses lined up at this door wanting the same opportunity. And when I asked Halifax, did we come out and approach you or did you approach us? We approached them. They didn't approach us to this. We approached them. So now let's tie that in to the next phase, the message boards, okay? We used a message board for Halifax for over a week. I can tell you right now, I came up here on Friday and did the Arbor Day thing. I also came up here last year to see the Arbor Day. Last year, Arbor Day, guess what? There was no more stuff left. I mean, those 300 trees were gone, okay? This year, there were 70 left over. Guess what? We used that message board last year to advertise Arbor Day for 2 weeks, okay? This year, we couldn't because we let a business advertise their grand opening on the message board. Question to you guys. Did our city manager make an administrative decision over our heads, or is she just going rogue? Okay, and let's just follow my path here, because the fact that this was not brought in front of us, that she used our logo attached with Halifax, I mean, Halifax printed the things off. It's a violation of what I was told our policy is when it comes with dealing with our logo. Second, let's go to the next one. Let's talk the liquor license.
Do you want an answer on these things, or you
no, hey, listen, you don't want a full discussion. I'm just laying it out there.
No, all right.
Okay? Let's talk liquor license. Now here we go. I emailed the city manager and said, hey, Ms. Shang, when did the idea of a liquor license ever come up? Because I don't ever remember talking about this. She said April 10th workshop. Well, remember, that's the one that I left halfway early, the first one. That's the one where Mr. O'Donnell walked up here and basically told us we were getting a liquor license. Another question for you guys. Before April 10th, did you guys know, did you have any idea or any conversation with the city manager that we were thinking about a liquor license?
I did.
Okay, so we have one person. So apparently the mayor and Ms. Shang decided we were going down this road of a liquor license.
No. Yeah, now there's where you're misrepresenting things.
Hey,
said, did anybody
do me a
know?
favor. Let me finish.
Okay,
It's my
I've heard
floor,
about
and
it.
you can question me later. Okay,
I talked to Skip
I'm
about
just
it. That was all.
I'm just
I didn't
saying.
talk to Ms. Shang.
And I just spoke with Skip and asked him, was it his idea on this? He said no, it was his idea. Basically, when it came to which liquor license to go get, but the idea of a liquor license did not come from our city attorney. Just so you guys know that.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, here we go again. A liquor license, guys. This is a major ordeal to me, okay? This is a major ordeal to residents of the city, and it was never brought in front of this commission. It was never discussed about. And once again, one person knew. So here we go again. Did she make administrative decisions over our heads, okay? Decide that our decisions aren't, our thoughts don't matter anymore, okay? Or did she go rogue? My question is, I keep seeing this over and over again. Now, I'm going to stay on the center for a while now, because when we first laid this thing out, we laid out a community center, right? We were talking basketball courts. We're talking, this is a place where the city could go and we could hang out, right? And then we can build our economic development right through the middle section and grow it all the way out to I-4. Now, this is a business venture. And I don't care if you talk to anybody in the city, to start up a business, you need to plan. We have no business plan laid down for this. All of a sudden, we get the fact that our city manager presents us that we're going to make, our cost is going to be let's just say 970,000, and we're going to make dollar for dollar. So I asked, how did we get that breakdown? How did we get that breakdown? And what did we get? We got an email back, and it says $407,000 for liquor sales. That's what we're going to profit next year. We're going to profit $407,000. It didn't say where the profit margin was, how many events were being booked, was it Friday night, was it Saturday night, nothing. It's $407,000. You guys take it or leave it. Then we talked about rentals. Did it say, yeah, this is how I got this number? No, all you did was take the $970,000 and divide it 3 ways and gave us another answer. In those emails, both one from the city manager and one from Mr. O'Donnell, they talk about the city having to rezone that property to R2, okay? Both of them made incorrect statements. It's already zoned R2. We have to go rezone it to C2 in order to be able to sell this stuff that we're projecting doing. So now, and if you read that email, it talks about staff is going to do this. Not, hey, we're going to bring this in front of the commission. I mean, we know it's got to come here, but apparently they don't want our opinion. They're just going to move forward with it. We're going to move forward with all the time it takes to rezone this property, and we're going to move forward on it. Once again, not bringing it in front of this commission. And these are policy, guys. This is not like just what these are policy decisions. You're talking, the city is going to take a liquor license, and what he's trying to buy is a $250 event license, okay? You can't, he stood up here talking about he wanted on Friday night, whenever it's not rented, remember, if it's not rented, we're gonna have bands, we're gonna have food, we're gonna have liquor, right? Well, I'm sorry, that's not permitted by that $250 license. It's not. Second of all, I went looking around. There is a bar literally 500 feet away from this place. 500 feet away from this place. So now we keep talking businesses, right? We want businesses. We want to grow economic development, yet we're going to take $407,000 out of the private sector for liquor sales, right? We could have opened this up to the Critters Pub or whatever it is. All right, there they say, hey, you could, man, run the thing for us, pay us back a commission. No, we're going to tap into their business, and then on Friday nights, we're going to hold bands and food issues and try to pull people out of your business 500 feet down the road and put them in a nicer place. I got major problems. Let's talk liability. Guys, I go back to everything that I found on that liquor license that we're trying to get. We're going to have to create an authority, all right? You can't just get this. Someone has to sign for it, then you create an authority to run it. Mayor, you should know beyond anybody else, you're on the authority for the Ocean Center. You should know that that place is a tank, and it's got so much tax dollars going into it, it's not funny. Of anybody that's sitting up here, you should be the one that's most vocal saying, guys, $1 million might be a little high, because they didn't even do that in the Ocean Center. Please read the article that came out about the Ocean Center. So there we go for that. Then let's talk about this flyer brochure that if you it was brought to our attention by a resident. Once again, guys, it was brought to our attention by a resident. This was not something that was perfected and sent to us where we could see it, we could look at it, we can inspect it, right? No, I get an email that says, urgent, take this thing out of production, and I read it. And I'm so embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed. My 8th grade daughter would have done a better job making this flyer, okay? So I email city manager. Who approved this? How long has it been going out? Jane, how many times has that thing been sent out?
The insert in the water
The insert.
bill?
The one that was brought to our attention.
It was put into 6 mailings.
It was put into 6 mailings.
I think you're talking about two different things.
No. I'm talking about the flyer that Mr. O'Donnell was using that was emailed to us. And I emailed you and said, this document that had the pricing, the room rentals.
That draft copy.
Excuse me, I was confusing it with the flyer in the water bill.
No.
All right, what you're asking me is there was a draft document that Mr. O'Donnell had put together, as a talking point. He did provide it to certain individuals, just as a talking point. I believe he might have provided it to 6 or 7 individuals.
Okay, because I emailed Ms. Shang and I said, how many people? She responded back to me and said, that was a rough draft intended for Mrs. White. It has gone out to no one. No one. That I have an email I can forward to everybody. That's what was told to me. Tonight, guys, I did a public record request of his emails from that week. It went to 11 people. That flyer that is embarrassing, and one of them is Seminole County, okay? It went to 11 people. I asked my city manager how many people to go to. She told me 0. There's 11 copies right here. Public record. You'll have it in your email right now, okay? It went to 11 people. Once again, guys, I go to my city manager, I ask, I was lied to again, because apparently, I guess my vote don't count when she knows she has protection. Moral of the story here, Chris O'Donnell, did anybody read the emails that Brandy sent out? Did anybody? Guys, come on. It is clear as black and white that the resume was manipulated. He didn't meet requirements. When we vetted him, and even our own staff pointed out things that were wrong about this guy's resume. I'm going to remind 3 of you sitting up here, 3 of you. I was sitting in that back row when a firefighter came up here and stood at this podium and read an email that said, the commission folded once again at the 11th hour, and our firefighters have the best deal in the state. And you guys called for his head. Called for his head. This guy has now, read through that thing. Read through that email. Guys, read through the email. It's black and white. The guy lied on his resume. This is a $9 million facility that is going to be an anchor for the city of Deltona. This is a $9 million facility that because of this, and if it's not if it's not near, if it doesn't do anything, it's going to drain money from where we should be putting money. We spoke about Parks and Rec today. This has got to, I'm going to throw something out there. You guys might laugh. You might think I'm crazy. What I believe should happen, Brian, this is just Brian. What I believe should happen is we should stop construction on that building effective immediately. We should take that $8 million. I've already looked. There's no penalty on that $8 million, okay? We should put this out to bid. We already brought up the ECHO money. I'm very disappointed with our county council rep, very. 2 weeks ago, I asked him. I said, for Lowry, I need to know, why did we not apply for ECHO money on this thing? He said, you must have missed the deadline. I said, you know, we only have $35,000 to give out, and I go to every single school and tell them, hey, listen, guys, there's money there, come get it, come get it. Yet our county councilman doesn't even come forward to us and say, guys, woo, hey, you can get up to $400,000 with ECHO money. You can get up to $400,000 with ECHO money. And I said, well, does it, so then I called the board. Does it qualify? Absolutely it qualifies. I said, okay, well, how many times has Deltona been awarded anything with ECHO money in the last, and this guy had been on the board for 5 years. He said, Brian, in my time on this board, Deltona's been awarded 0 projects. They have only submitted 1, and it was rejected because it wasn't filled out properly. And I said, well, why is that? They said, because your grant writer doesn't fill it out properly. So now we talk about the grant writer, which is a very sore subject for me anyway. Our grant writer doesn't even apply for this. Now I asked, does this thing still meet the qualifications? Can we apply right now with this thing in construction? They said yes. They said yes. They said this thing apply. You can file for ECHO money right now. What I requested from Commissioner Lowry that I still have not gotten, and I guess I'm going to have to do an official public record request, is since 2000, when they put this ECHO thing in, I want to know how much money has been pulled out of Deltona, and I want to know how much money they have put back in off ECHO money. And for some reason, I mean, we're using ECHO money now to buy lots on Daytona Beach instead of putting stuff in Deltona. We talked about the mayor's storage facility. That's another prime example that we should be using ECHO money. ECHO money would match that. It qualifies. Thornby Park, all that stuff. That's ECHO money. Why are we not applying for these grants? It blows my mind away, and I hope we get an answer. So I believe the event manager should be terminated. I believe we should put this whole project on pause. I believe we should go back and do a business plan if we're going to move forward with the event center. Some of you guys know that it almost got off the ground. There was a event center that was going to be built in Orange City called the Partnership Center. In 18 months, the lady running that raised $28 million. She raised $28 million in 18 months. The building was going to cost $0. You know why that building doesn't exist today? Because Deltona. Because of Deltona. See, Deltona got word that if there was any losses, now remember, $28 million was going to cover all the expenses of the building. If there were any expenses, it was going to be divided between 3 cities, and Deltona axed it. That's just operational cost. Now we're responsible for operational, to build it, to fund it, everything else that goes into it. And now the only way to justify this huge debt that we're getting into is to go out and get a liquor license. That's the only way. So now we got to turn this into a business instead of a community center, which bothers me. I believe somebody needs to step up. I would assume it would be the city manager, but apparently she doesn't want to. Echo money should start coming into the city. We've paid a lot of money into it. And then last but not least, we talked about tag readers today. I had a conversation about tag readers. I explained to them, me personally, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I don't technically disapprove with them, but in a year from now, if we don't catch X amount of bad guys because of using these things, then I am all for taking them back down. We need to make sure they do work. If they can take bad people off our streets, I am okay with it. But they were throwing out stats that they don't really catch that many bad people, and it's just tracing. So I hope that within a year from now, we look at the stats and see what's going on. But guys, I'm telling you right now, I'm extremely disappointed. I was lied to once again with this. The city manager